Anita, how's your mental health?
Questionable at all times. You know this.
Yeah, how's the mental health of your children?
Also a little bit tricky. Can I tell you my experience in trying to find therapists for myself and my kids, Mel?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is how it goes. You ask around your friends and your family for a referral for somebody who's nearby. You finally find somebody who sounds like they might work for your family. You give them a call and you find out that A, they're not accepting new patients, or B, they have a huge wait list. So you start over again and you ask people if they know anybody who would be a good therapist and a good fit. Finally, you find one, you go and you meet with them and you figure out that you don't actually like them that much. But it's been so much work to find somebody who you can go to in your area that you're kind of stuck with them. Well, do you have any ideas for how to get around this?
I do, because guess what? I've actually had some therapists that I have found on my own, which involves what you're saying. Sometimes I remember one time I was like 3 hours in the bathtub on my phone looking through websites. I was such a prune at the end. But I have also had the experience with working with BetterHelp. And it was like, I don't want to say too good to be true, but because it is true, but it's like amazing because I was matched with my therapist within 24 hours.
And you didn't have to go through all of that other ridiculous process of trying to find somebody. And here's the cool thing too, is if that person didn't work out for you, you can just switch and say, and it's not like you're committing to another years long search for somebody who you're going to jive with.
It's true. And I lucked out, or maybe just BetterHelp is really good at matching people together because I never had to change my therapist. I loved her. Perfect fit for me. And I know that some of our friends have used BetterHelp and they've had to change therapists, and boom, same day, you can change.
Easy peasy.
You can ghost your therapist. Get a new one.
I love this idea. BetterHelp is one of our sponsors. If you use our promo code trybetterhelp.com/WWDN, you get 10% off your first month. And we totally recommend it.
Yes. Get some therapy. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. Another week has come and gone.
Mel, how are you doing?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I've been good at turning in all of my assignments for school, so that's good.
Okay,
and
good.
Working on keeping my blood sugar up, which has actually been very helpful.
Oh,
interesting,
good.
right? And have had a couple of decent-ish days, which I thought was awesome, but I told somebody that earlier, and I was like, okay, well, in like 10 days, I've had like 2.5 really good-ish days. And they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, be happy for me. That's amazing.
This is an improvement.
Yeah. We've had some more family drama, life and death scenario situations. Sorry to always be so vague. It's just so traumatic and like,
well, it's
private.
Hard because it's not your information to share.
Yeah, if it were
right?
mine, I'd be like, and then this and this and this.
Yeah, it's somebody else in your family. And I understand that it's kind of hard to like know where the balance is between being vague and not saying anything and also like respecting other people's privacy. So yeah. just know that it's big blah.
But I will say that my mom, my tiny mom, who's a widow, who's a boomer, who's like, charge ahead and keep going, is like, what did the Shore family do to have all of this stuff dumping on us constantly? So, you know, but then she like kept going after that. And I'm like, I know, Mom. See, that's why you could take a nap. Want to watch TV?
Oh, for realsies.
Yeah, but I mean, today was a good day. Here's my new plan, Anita. Well, it's actually part of my old plan. So, you know, I started roller skating.
Uh-huh.
And I've realized that with skateboarding, like you have to stomp your foot a lot to make things stick.
Okay.
I've kind of started learning, but I'm not like posting any videos yet because I'm only doing roller skating, really, on Instagram.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I am going to take out all of whatever is happening around me at all times on learning skateboarding. So if I get really good at skateboarding really fast, you'll know that I am just stomping on people, places, or things that are giving me anxiety and trauma.
You're stomping on all the nouns.
Yeah. I've done a lot of skating this week, I have to say. to escape. Like
Good.
yesterday when a traumatic thing happened, I like ran away to the actual skate park, and that was good. But other than that, I'm in EMDR still. I have funny spending habits when I do EMDR. Like that one time I got a bunch of roller skates. Oops. Now I realized today, I guess I bought some overalls. I bought the same 2 pair of overalls from 2 different stores, and they came today. And that was like a delayed consequence of last EMDR. I don't know.
Who knows
I don't
what you're
know.
going to end up with.
You know what, though? I'm here, and I'm breathing, and I have dogs.
All good things.
And I'm just telling myself, like, when I feel really terrible, I look at my dogs and I think, I have 3 angels around me, and that keeps me going. No joke.
That's so funny.
Even Jersey.
They're angels sent from heaven above.
I know. I mean, I gotta just keep going, I guess. Whatever. How are you?
Mel, I mean, last week was really bad.
I don't even want to ask you.
It's getting better. It's actually getting better.
Okay.
But I just wanted to tell you that I tried to rent a book from the library. I have a $43 library fine.
How? You did not return the Very Hungry Caterpillar last year.
I mean, I just think I look back on the last 3 years, and anytime I think I'm like getting it together, I'm like, oh no, you didn't return that book from 2020, and it's been accruing all of these fines. So then I was just like, I just don't want this book. I'll just never rent anything from the library again. Like, how did this happen? I don't know.
It would have been cheaper to buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, I think they probably I think the fine is probably for them replacing the book or whatever. But yeah, in general, I have been it's been really interesting to watch my own brain for the last week and recognize what is happening, and that I was thrown into a very, very literal fight or flight. And going back and forth between, you know, what angry things I was going to do and also where we were going to go. And so that's been really interesting. And I'm watching myself pull out of it too and being like, no, like, you are safe. Everything's okay. You know, it's not an ideal situation, but it's okay. So I'm feeling a lot better, and I don't skateboard and stomp out my energy. I just go ride and run up mountains, and that's where my energy goes, and that's been really helpful for me. Also, yesterday was my son's 6th birthday, so that's been fun too. His birthday was not as awful as my daughter's 16th birthday, because 16 is like, you know, but it is like crazy to me to think that he was 2 when Jason died, and now he's 6, and so much has changed. He's changed so much.
It's
so
wild to me. I can't believe he's 6.
I know, it's totally wild. Yep, and there you go. That's me. It's getting better. I think I'm starting to be human again.
You should knock on wood right now.
You are so right.
We all know better, right, widows?
Yes. Yeah. I hope I can get back to like where I was before quickly, which is one benefit I think of time. And maybe you can tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, Mel, but I still feel like we have these really griefy episodes, but I feel like we recover from them a little bit quicker as time goes on. It's like you have more evidence that you actually can do this, and you've practiced more. And so it's like you get thrown on your heels. And now it's like, okay, like I know what to do, or I know what to try, and I know that I can actually do this because I've been doing it for this long. So do you think that's true?
Yeah. And even with this recent like shit show of my life of 2022, literally from the day January 1st, I've pulled up even more experiences from further back, like even before Scott died, and that were very traumatic, and I came out of them, and I had resilience, and so I rely upon those now more than I did before, I think, because I feel like my trauma is chronic. But I look back and it's like, you survived this. you survive this, and this, and this, and this. And it might not mean that all suffering ceases one day, because I don't think that's the point of life. Obviously, there's a lot of suffering in the world, and hopefully we're here to help make others' journeys a little bit better as we're going along ourselves. But the thing about the human spirit is I know that it's resilient, and I know it is such hard work, and I know you have to keep going. So yeah, I've been trying to pull from experiences from my whole life, my long life of 40 years.
You elderly woman.
Yes.
Come, guys, and hang out with us in the Widow Wives Club. It's a great place to be. I just really appreciate everybody in there. There's so much good that happens in there, and I'm so thankful for all of you. It's on Facebook. Just make sure that you answer all the questions. Mel, we just had a person with almost my same name enter the Widow Wives Club.
That's so cool.
Weird, huh?
Yes.
It's like the Matrix or something.
Ooh.
If you want to keep the podcast going, come check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And if you join our Patreon, it helps us keep the podcast going. And you get things. So many things. If you join at the $10 level, you get ad-free episodes. And you get a shout-out in episode in the podcast. But monthly tier donations start at $5.
We're going to start with our secret dead husband. And to her we say, Mr. Widow, bring me a drink. Make it the saddest that we've ever seen.
Oh, barf. Next, Constance Dahlbeck.
David Kelly.
Don Satterwhite.
Emily Wesenberg.
Gail Bell.
Heather Mullins.
Ivan the Misner.
Kat.
Krista Waite.
Maya Glasser.
Neil Hooper, my hair sis.
Sam Finlayson.
Amber Vela.
Amy Hartman Martell.
Amy Neal.
Ashley Hahn.
Barbara Schneeberger.
Brandy Younger.
Brittany Pedro.
Chris Steffen.
Cindy Wilkerson.
Danielle Catterberg.
Nada Debbie Downer.
Dennis Brazo.
Jean Marie Massey.
Jenny Taylor.
I saw a commercial with Jenny Taylor on it today at the gym when I was running.
Yeah.
She's so fancy. Okay. Jennifer Beal.
Jennifer Brown.
Jenny Wang.
Jesse Johnson.
Carol Schultz.
Kelly Ford.
Kirsten Stromberg Clausen.
Lara Aguirre Penner.
Lauren Old.
Lou Clausen.
Marie Hoffman.
MK Anderson.
Patricia Weist.
Rachel Barbosa.
Sarah Morris.
Simone Fu and the tiny centaur.
Giraffe?
No, what was... Meerkat.
Meerkat. She gave it to me. I have it.
Good.
Sunshine Haven.
Sylvia Tiny the Shore.
Taylor Snyder.
The Winehouse Karen Cornejo.
Amy Burke.
Anne Drennan.
Anna Tracy.
Audrey Henniger.
Christina Scambato.
Christine Anderson.
Cindy Raynaud.
Connie Remich.
John Barber.
Debbie Fells.
Deborah Westwood.
Diana Becker.
Emily Toledo.
Eric Vandermeulen.
Aaron Posick.
Gabe Lozano.
Gia Benoit.
Gina Haas.
Ian Sini.
Ileana Bell.
The Jackie.
My mom.
A secret patron.
Jennifer Davis.
Jenny Armstrong.
Jenny Barrow.
Jocelyn Milo.
Julie Stevenson.
Karen Ochoa. Welcome.
Hi, Karen.
Yay.
Karina Jacobo.
Karina Jabobo. Kathy Murray.
Katie Getz.
Katie Radcliffe.
Kara Mascara.
Kevin Ferry.
Chris Morgan.
Laura Keeley.
Lindsay Kanavka.
Laurie Farrington.
Marjorie Lewis.
Marianne Hammond.
Marianne McDonald.
Mary McGowan.
Megan Montague.
Melissa Bowers.
Melissa Hancock.
Our daughter Missy Schubert.
Naomi Brown.
Peter Rukavina.
Rebecca Olamaker.
Becky the Zebra.
Robin Flam.
Stacy Saywert.
Tammy Terravest.
Tara Wallace.
Trenton Thompson.
Valerian Root, the actress of all of Davis County Packer.
Wow. Judy Malkin.
And
finally we have double wall tumbler Wendy. It keeps ice and drinks
It's
very
handy.
cold. It's very impressive. Yeah. Thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. We really couldn't do this without you. We appreciate you so much.
If you'd like to buy us a taco, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonow.
We were thwarted in our taco buying attempt today.
You guys, last week was so bad. You know it's bad when Anita and I don't even text each other. Like normally we text each other and we're like, ah! And this time we just had silence. So today we were going to go get tacos and then we forgot our favorite place is closed. So no tacos for us. But if you would like to send us for tacos on not the day that the shop is closed, please consider buying us tacos.
Sometimes we assume that unless we had a huge life insurance payout, we don't really need to know anything about investments or even finances. But guess what? A little knowledge of finances is critical for all of us. Maybe your partner was in charge of that stuff, and now you find yourself making all the decisions. Maybe you're mad about that. Maybe I am. Nicole from the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast is here to help. She tackles financial literacy by telling the stories of women and widows and finance experts and shares the lessons they've learned as certified financial planners. Whether you know a lot and feel confident in your financial decisions or feel unsure about all of that stuff, there is more to learn. Listen and subscribe to the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast on all podcast platforms. This ad was paid for by Rockhouse Financial, an SEC registered investment advisor. Okay. If you guys don't want to do either of those things, will you give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes?
Whatever.
What is that? On Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps people to find us when they need to find us. And
If you don't even want to do that, but please do that. And if you write one, please make it nice and not mean.
not
Then
this
just,
week especially.
Yeah, please. Just spread the word. The more that we can help the widowed community and the supporters of the widowed community, the better. We're all here to help each other. So thanks to those who do donate so that those who are not able to or don't want to can still listen for free. We appreciate you. And we hope that you enjoy this episode from the Widow Mafia mob boss.
This is very exciting. I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
We're two young widows. We are trying to figure it out for ourselves and help you figure it out. Widow.
We
Do.
meow. Yes, I said meow. Welcome. My name is Disaster Zone, as marked by my Zoom name.
Yes, we had to have a Zoom name switcheroo, but we have a special guest today here with us. It's the leader of the Widow Mafia.
Truly.
Yes.
We don't say that word.
Oh.
Mhm.
It's the leader of the not talking about it group of people.
This is somebody you don't want on your bad side.
It's correct.
That's all
It's
I have
correct.
to say. This is also my personal bodyguard.
She's not wrong.
She'll break your knees.
That's right. That is right.
This is our friend Nikki. Nikki, let's see if I can do it right. She just told us Catapano.
You did
Is that
it.
right?
You did
You
it.
know how you can think of a cat getting smacked by a pan, like what
Or-
she's gonna do to anybody that
or-
bugs you.
You'll like this, Mel. Cat on a piano. Catapano.
Oh,
I had an art teacher in middle school. That's how he remembered my name.
that's
Well,
cuter.
there you go.
I liked the other one. It's more violent.
I mean, either way. Either way.
Nikki, where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl, so you might hear that accent come out. But right now, I'm in Florida. I've been in South Florida for the last 5 years.
Is it too hot in Florida? I feel like
No.
it's too hot in Florida.
It's
You
literally
love it?
it's literally just like it was in New Jersey, except I have an ocean breeze because I'm on the East Coast. I'm like by West Palm Beach. I'm like right above Boca.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Cool.
Do you ever see alligators on your front porch?
No, and
No.
I've literally for 5 years I've been waiting and I have not seen one.
Do they have like alligator bait you could put out on the front porch? I mean, it's probably like,
Marshmallows. Alligators like
What?
marshmallows. I know.
who doesn't? All right, Nikki. All right, Nikki. We need to know a little bit more about you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Nikki?
Okay. So currently I live with my parents.
Fun.
Yeah. I have 3 dogs. Two of them, I know. Well, they're all rescues, but 2 of them are brother and sister from the same litter, and they are named Ralphie Nicholas and Gracie Noel because they were born in December.
Yeah, of
And
course.
then I have my Luna Lovegood, and Luna is the dog that James and I adopted together. And actually, Thursday is her gotcha day.
How old will she be?
Well, her birthday's actually in March, so she's 4. But we adopted her in on June 9th of 2018. And it was funny because James was very adamant about I love Harry Potter. Even I'm a middle school teacher. My classroom is Hogwarts. The kids get sorted. It's like a huge deal. And he was very adamant that we would not give our dog a Harry Potter name. But James had not read the books, nor did he watch all the movies. So when I suggested Luna, he was like, "Oh, I like that name." And then it was like, Luna Lovegood.
You're so sneaky.
I know. Sneaky Nikki.
So you grew up in Jersey.
I did.
And how long did you live in Jersey?
Till I moved to Florida when I was through 33.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you now?
My birthday is June 20th, and I will be 39.
Oh, you're around our age, my
Yes.
age.
Did you meet James in Jersey or in Florida?
Florida.
In Florida.
Oh.
And James is from New York.
Oh, really? So tell us what you do for a job.
I'm a middle school English teacher.
I feel like you have the constitution for that. You could take them. Nikki has been in our Widow Wives Club for a while, and we met her finally in person at Camp Widow in Tampa, which was glorious.
It really was. I was like starstruck.
She was like floored that Anita was 9 feet tall.
Yes. And I was also very intrigued by your walk.
She was. She kept telling me. I didn't
My
tell you that,
walk?
Anita.
Yeah.
Wow.
You've got a
I did not know
stride.
You do. You do.
That's funny. I will pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to hear, Nikki, how you and James met, because in my brain
Okay.
I had it different. So tell us how you found each other.
So let me back up just a tiny bit for that. So when I moved to Florida, and it was like a quick decision. I had no plans on moving here. I knew no one. I knew nothing. Like I knew nothing. I'd never even been here. But I had just recently gotten out of a very toxic 15-and-a-half-year relationship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So from high school until I was 33.
Whew.
So that relationship was extremely toxic, abusive, and it ended. And this opportunity for a teaching job came, and I really had no reason to say no. So I got a call on I don't know, I think it was like January 2nd, and the principal had said, "Oh, I have a opening." One of the teachers didn't come back from winter break. That should have been my first sign. But he's like, "How quickly can you get down there?" And I'm like, "Down here." And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I have to find a place to live. But I moved down 3 weeks later. So yeah, I got my own apartment. It was the first time I lived on my own. It was like I knew like one person, and it was by myself. It was just me. So that was interesting. So I started working at this charter school. And again, I was a middle school teacher there. And a lot of the people I worked with, James had worked at the school prior. So not when I worked there. And James is from Long Island. So he had moved down a lot sooner than I had. So he had worked at the school. I think he left the year before I moved down and went to a different school. All of my coworkers would mention him, but like we went by last names. Like nobody said first name. So they're like, "Oh, you would really get along with Sanacola." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't know who that is. Whatever." Nobody ever showed me like a picture. Like I didn't know anything about this guy, except that we would get along. It was our holiday Christmas party at work, and it was December of 2018. We went to some like lounge place or something. That's where they held it. And I saw this guy in this really funny Christmas sweater. In fact, it's literally on my chair. It's a llama.
A llama.
Right? And I said to one of my friends, who's that fun guy in the llama sweater? And she's looking and she's like, oh, that's Senecola. And I said, oh, I know that name. Like, whatever. Apparently, he had weight loss surgery like 6 months prior and had lost over 100 pounds. So people didn't recognize him. I had no idea because I didn't know him. Later that evening, there was like 10 people that conspired this and planned this because he didn't even work there. Somebody brought him on purpose. I was literally pushed into him. Like literally someone said, Catapano, meet Senecola. Senecola, this is Catapano. And she walked away. That's literally how we met. Literally.
It sounds so romantic.
I know. And then we talked, but he called it scream talking because it was really loud. So we were scream talking for like a half an hour or something. And then he left because we were both like, we don't like people, you know, and we don't go out. So it was very loud and people-y for us. So he was leaving. I was planning on leaving as soon as I could get out of there. And I guess he got my number from one of those people because the next day he like texted me and then called me.
Did
and
he
I think
scream text you or did he softly text you?
I'm not really sure because
all caps?
it wasn't all caps. I don't think, but he also had terrible grammar and he didn't
What did
like
he teach?
he taught math and science, 4th grade math and science.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be bad if he was an English teacher
Oh,
too. He had bad
no,
grammar.
no. His text, like in my text, I'm very like, I have to put punctuation and spell everything out. And he was not that person. And I get so mad and I would fix his text. And he's like, why are you doing this?
You'd correct his text and send him back to him with red marker. Do you sign your texts? Just curious. Are you like,
I don't.
Dearest James, you will find the pot roast in the oven. Love, Nikki.
No, but he used to write me notes and put them in my lunch bag. He would like pack I know. One time he wrote me a note. It was the best one. He said, I love you more than Kanye loves Kanye. And I was like, wow, that's a lot.
That's funny.
Because Kanye does love Kanye. But yeah, he did a lot of the cooking and cleaning. Like he was amazing. But he was very much into me quicker than I was into him. Because remember, I was like coming out of a really long, crappy relationship. And so my walls were up and I'm just like, okay. So yeah, so we went on a date like a week later, right before Christmas. And he then went to Mexico for Christmas because his family had a timeshare. They always went to Mexico for Christmas. So I didn't really talk to him except like on Snapchat a few times. I found out later he was lying to me. He told me he didn't have Wi-Fi. But later he was just saying he didn't want to seem too like, you know, waiting. Yeah. Have that effect. He came back. We went on another date. Like we went on like really weird dates, not weird dates, but like we went to like the zoo and the science center and we went to
like little kid field trips. You guys went on field trips together.
Yeah, but but it was fun to us. Like he would we were at the zoo and he was narrating as if he were the animals.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was. We went to the science center and then like the following week we went to an arcade, which was
also very fun.
I know. And yeah, and then he was planning on moving to Georgia actually. And he had asked me like, you know, like knowing that I might be moving, is that something that would interest you or he said, would you want to still talk to me knowing that I might be moving? And I said, well, we don't know what's happening. Like, I know that I have a good time with you. We laugh, we have fun. So I don't know why we would stop that because you maybe might move to Georgia in several months. And he was like, okay, you're my girlfriend now. And I was like, whoa, literally. And he would swear that that's not how it goes. But I'm like, you'd literally give me no option.
Yeah, was he gonna ask?
Apparently not. He just
You're my
takes.
girlfriend now.
Yeah, you're my girlfriend now. Like, okay, glad we got this adult thing down.
You guys are going on field trips for your dates, and then he was like, "You're my girlfriend now." I feel like this is like a 4th grade.
I know. I was waiting for him to ask me to wear his sweater.
So he didn't end up going to Georgia, or he did?
So I went with him a few months later just to go check it out. And he was like determined to get me to move with him. And I was like, I just moved here and like, we've only been dating for a few months. Like, chill, dude. But I went with him and we checked out like 10 houses in one weekend. And I'm like, this is just like New Jersey. And I just left there. Why would I want to move here? I'm good. I got the ocean like 10 minutes away from me. No thanks. And he had a job lined up and everything. And he talked to the principal about getting a job for me. And I had told him, look, I don't want to move here. And we talked about doing long distance. And then at the end, he just was like, yeah, I'm not going to go because then I'm going to be all by myself. I'm like, yep. But he owned a house, like he had his own townhouse. So then he was dead set on me moving in. And I'm like, still no. So that's kind of where Luna came from, because he thought if he got me a dog, I would move in.
Did it work?
Not right away, because my lease wasn't up. But I was over all the time. And then later, so that was June, and then I moved in November and lived with them ever since. And yeah, that's how we met and started our love.
Aww.
With a really cut rate matchmaker situation.
Yeah.
I just shoved you at each other and then
Literally shoved me.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he didn't move to Georgia.
He did not.
There you go. That didn't happen.
I know.
So, okay. So you moved in together. Did you guys get married?
No. We were engaged. He told me he didn't want to marry me until he got rid of some of his debt, because he didn't want me to have to take on any of his debt.
Like if he died?
I guess.
But you guys just missed a huge eye roll from Nikki.
It was pretty good.
It was epic.
You know, the funny thing about, I mean, it's not funny, haha, but it is. He kept telling me, because I have a lot of health issues, and he kept telling me that he was worried that I was going to make him a widow in his early 40s. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then this idiot had to go and die.
So why is James dead and you're not dead? What happened? No offense.
Excellent question. I often ask myself that, because he was a much better person. Well, he had like back pain, and he was prone to getting kidney stones. So we kind of figured that he was getting a kidney stone. It wasn't getting better. He went to like 3 different hospitals within a couple of days. And finally, they said he had a bulging disc in his lower back. And this final hospital decided to run blood work. I don't know why the other ones didn't. And found that he had acute lymphoblastic leukemia B cell, which is a pediatric leukemia. Like he didn't have it as a kid or anything. We have no idea why. He had no symptoms. So it was very sudden. And of course, this was during COVID. This was November of 2020. And so we had gotten him into University of Miami, because they have a really good cancer center. So that was like, we found out November 10th. The last time I saw him physically where we could hug and kiss was November 12th. And then they transferred him that night to University of Miami. And so he was in University of Miami. It was supposed to be like 28 days. He was going to be home before Christmas, 90% remission rate. And we would FaceTime, like every night, a couple times, and talk on the phone. And he was still teaching. He was teaching from his hospital bed with videos, and he was extremely dedicated to his kids. I mean, every one of his students said that he made them feel like they were his favorite. So if an entire class of fourth graders can say that. He was doing something right.
You're just jealous, Nikki. You're like, none of my kids think that they're my favorite.
I actually got some pretty cool end of the year gifts. So
okay, good. Were they trying to get him ready for like a bone marrow transplant?
Well, they were just trying to get him into remission first.
Okay.
And then once we were in remission, then it would be, okay, what's the next step? Bone marrow transplant. Okay. The doctors were extremely positive about everything. So we would talk, and then it got close to like around when he was supposed to be coming home. And I noticed that he was very jaundiced. And I told him, and I'm like, James, something's not right. Like, you're very yellow and you're very bloated. And he was getting sicker and sicker and sicker from the chemo and everything. And he said, oh no, it's just a side effect from the chemo. I'm like, I don't know if that's right. And he didn't make me his medical proxy because he didn't think I'd be able to handle it, because I'm sensitive, and he didn't want me to have to make those decisions. So his sister was, and which was fine. She's a doctor. She's a doctor of physical therapy in New York. So she was his medical proxy, and would always discuss anything with us. So that it wasn't like a whatever, but the problem was that she wasn't here. So, and she wasn't like videoing with him. So I couldn't call the doctors and be like, look, I don't think something's right. And he wouldn't, because he just accepted it as it's a side effect. This is weird. This is like kind of creepy weird. So James and I met on December 15th of 2017.
That's my wedding anniversary.
Well, it's also the last day that James spoke to me, because he crashed that night.
So he was in the hospital for like a month.
Yeah.
Trying to get into remission.
Yep. Well, a little bit longer than a month. Well, actually, he went into the hospital beginning of November. We didn't get the diagnosis until the 10th, but December 15th, I couldn't get in touch with him, which was not normal. Found out that he had acute pancreatitis. And then he videoed me that night for just a few seconds. Literally all he said to me was, "It's bad, baby." And I said, "I know, James." And he said, "Okay, as long as you know." And I said, "Wait, are you talking about your pancreas?" And he said, "Yes, I love you." And he hung up. And that was the last time I ever heard his voice.
That's not a conversation that you've replayed in your head 10 million times, is it?
And it literally 3 years to the day that we met. So, yeah. And that night he crashed. His liver was toxic from one chemo drug that he got one time. And I know the exact date of when they gave it to him, because I kept track of, his chemo schedule and everything. And they didn't think he was going to make it. So they let us come to the hospital. He was on a ventilator. They couldn't sedate him fully because his blood pressure had dropped so low. So they had him restrained, and he was like fighting it. And when he heard my voice, he started to calm down. So I was able to get him to calm down and tell him not to fight over the breathing machine, let it work for him. And he was on that for like 2.5 weeks. They called him his Christmas miracle because he got out of it. Like, he was doing better. He was sitting up. We were planning rehab for him. And then they moved him from cardiac ICU to medical ICU, and it was downhill from there. His pancreatitis became necrotizing. He was in kidney failure, and it was just multi-system organ failure. And he fought really hard for as long as he could. And he passed on January 15th, 2 days after our anniversary.
Okay, also, don't you feel like, obviously you feel gypped because he was so great, but coming out of a toxic, bad relationship that was so long before that, doesn't it feel like the universe just played this dirty trick on you? And you're like, what the heck? Yeah.
All the time I say that. I'm like, this is like, why? What did I, and for a long time I blame myself. Like, what did I do wrong? What did I do to deserve for him to have to suffer like this? Like, why did he have to suffer for something that I must have done.
Like it's karma or something, or
Yeah. And so that was something that in therapy that I've struggled with a lot. The blame game. I blame myself a lot, like many of us do. Like I should have said something sooner. I should have done this. I should have done that. When, I mean, logically, I know that I couldn't save him, but it's that irrational side is the one that keeps popping its ugly head. So yeah, it was our anniversary was, I only got to see him like 4 times throughout that month of him being in ICU. January 13th was our anniversary, and he died 2 days later. So I was with him when he passed.
So were you not allowed to be with him because of restrictions from the chemo and those types of things, or
Yeah,
was
and
it because
COVID.
of COVID? So it like a combination of those two things together.
Yeah, because they like were depleting his immune
Yeah.
system of everything from the chemo. It was some pretty nasty chemo drugs that they were giving him, clearly. So when he was in ICU, his sister got to see him more, being the medical proxy and being in the medical field. So, and they would like video or FaceTime with us. So like he didn't speak again from that last phone call or video chat. He never spoke again. They said he developed encephalopathy from the liver toxicity. So he was like kind of hallucinating beforehand, which makes sense from things that he was saying to me. He just never gained that control back again. I mean, he would give a thumbs up, and he stopped responding to everybody except me. So I had the hard job of having to ask him if he wanted to go back on the ventilator the night before he passed, because he wouldn't answer anybody else. And his sister was there with him, and his father was there with him, and he wasn't responding. So his mom said, well, put the phone up to him and let's see if he'll respond to Nikki. She put it up to his face, and I said, hi, baby. And he opened his eyes. And I said, I love you so much. And he nodded, yes. And I said, James, do you want to go back on the ventilator? And he just shook his head no. And I said, okay, then you have to keep fighting. And he did for one more day. Yeah.
So, Nikki, you've kind of explained that you were in this kind of strange space because you weren't married and you weren't his healthcare proxy. How did his family treat you as far as his person? Did you get, deference given to you? Did they see you as his person, or were you just, and I'm just saying just like, his girlfriend? I'm not saying that's how I feel, but did other people treat you like that?
Well, James and I were supposed to start IVF 3 days after he died. I know. So, and that ended up being his funeral.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So his family, some of them viewed me as his partner, like, his mom did not. There were many of arguments about our relationship. At first, like at that time, I was actually living with his parents because I got black mold poisoning while James was in the hospital. Why not?
Of course you did.
Right? Of course, because I was trying to get the house ready because he was supposed to be coming home. We found that we had black mold, so I couldn't live there. So I was staying with his parents because his parents had a bigger house, and it was closer to my school, and so it was fine. And so when he passed away, I made all the decisions, like with his mom. She had a hard time doing it. So I helped with whatever I could, and things were pretty good until they weren't. In a 2-month period from James passing, so he passed, then we were supposed to start IVF, and then less than 2 months later, the school I was teaching at, the principal terminated me without just cause. Like no reason. Literally said, without just cause. So I lost my job. 3 days after that, I had to go to the IVF doctor, which was hard enough as it was. And on the way home, got into a car accident in which I got hurt. And then at the end of that week, his parents kicked me out of our house.
What?
So
Wow. Yeah.
there's that.
What did you do to make karma hate you so much?
I wish I knew.
I feel like that about my life too.
Yeah,
But
it was.
that's a lot.
It was a lot.
Were your parents still in New Jersey, or had they moved to
They
Florida
they
at
were
this point?
they had moved down by then. So they actually his parents, both of our parents moved down, because when we first started our relationship, neither of our parents lived down here. Our parents actually moved down within like a couple of months of each other.
To like retire or something, or just they're tired
Yeah.
of the cold?
Both. I mean, my father was tired of shoveling. And
Yeah.
and I guess his dad was too. And his parents were teachers in New York, so they were retired teachers from New York. And my mom works from home, so she's like, I can do that anywhere. And my dad's a musician, so my uncle lives in Florida, so they were, going to be doing their little gigs and stuff. So whatever, the class act, that's what they were called.
Yes.
And then they changed it to Two Hot Cats.
Oh.
That's right.
Does one of them play the piano? Two
Mhm.
cats on a piano?
My uncle Danny played the piano. Yep, and my dad's the drummer.
So you had all this horrible crap going on, and then you get
Yeah.
kicked out. You have no job. Where do you go from there?
Um,
And then there's grief. Let's like not even forget that.
oh yeah,
part.
there's tremendous grief and all that secondary loss, and I mean, I was left with nothing from the house. Everything was taken. They even tried to take Luna.
No.
Why do people do that?
Well, I don't know, but it didn't happen. So, luck, my mom is my savior. Like, I don't know what I would do without my mom, in all honesty.
Well, I'm glad you got to keep Luna. So where did
Yes.
you and Luna go? To your parents' house?
To my parents' very tiny condo in a 55 and up community.
Yeah.
And that is where we are.
Nikki, I imagine that felt like another kind of insult to injury. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you're like, and now I'm moving back in with my parents.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that comes with its own set of like, do your parents probably want to be your parents still a lot of the time?
Oh,
You're
my
like,
mom.
Actually,
I mean, for the first few months, I mean, I don't really remember much, but I know that my mom was like force feeding me, and because I lost like 30 pounds in 2 months because I wasn't eating, drinking. I was forgetting to take my meds. Then when I lost my job, I was literally in like the worst depression for 5 months. Because I couldn't find another job. So I was like in bed for 5 months, just
I
not
remember
sleeping.
when that happened and you told us in the Widow Wives Club, and I was like, I really hope that she's going to be like okay and survive this, because it
Yeah.
just was like worst thing after worst thing after worst thing.
And it was when I found your podcast, it was like, okay, maybe something good is happening. Because I feel like your podcast came to me at just the right time. And it wasn't like anybody told me about it. I literally just like typed in widow and you popped up. I'm like, widow we do now. That's punny. Let me,
that's fun.
and I have to start from the very beginning with everything. Right. So I started from very first episode, and it was exactly what I needed to do, because as I was going through these things, it was the things that you guys had already gone through. So when you started talking about the passive suicidality, like that's something that I was very much dealing with. And sometimes I still do. And I talked to my therapist about it, and of course it scares my mom terribly, but it's not something that I knew that there was a name for. And when I heard you talk about it, I'm like, okay, I'm not that crazy then. This is somewhat normal for what I'm going through. Okay. And then it was just like each week something would be justified for me, in which it made, I don't want to say that it made it better, but it made me feel less alone, I guess. Yeah. And you guys, I mean, your podcast is really it's the only thing I was able to listen to, because I couldn't listen to music because music was such a huge part of our relationship and our lives. I couldn't watch TV because there were shows that we watched and he had asked me not to watch them until he got home from the hospital.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang it.
I know, like Schitt's Creek.
No.
Oh,
No.
I finally I watched it. I had to. It took me a few months, but I did watch it. But there's still other shows that I have not watched because I couldn't. I can't. I just can't bring myself to do it. So literally all I would do is listen to, if I was walking Luna, I had my headphones, my AirPods, and that's what I was listening to, one of your episodes. If I was in the car, I was listening to one of your episodes. And that's literally what it is now. Besides, if I'm not listening to your podcast, I'm listening to Pamela Private Eye.
No way.
Nikki, it makes my heart warm and cold to know that you found us and that it helped you. Warm because I'm so glad it helped you, and cold because I know how you feel. We know how you feel. And you and I, when we met in Tampa, I feel like we get a lot of each other's stuff. We're kidless widows. We're about the same age. We have dogs. There's the element of isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't live with anybody but Scott when he died, but I had to get out of the house because they were selling the house.
Yeah.
I didn't lose my job, but I wasn't working because I couldn't work.
Right.
And so some of those things I really, really relate with. And I'm so sorry. It's so dumb. And the passive suicidality thing is so common and so real. And I'm not quite sure how many widows that have kids and like are forced to get up every day and attend to things. I don't know any statistics or anything on if they feel it as like we do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still struggle with it. Still. It's like when stuff goes wrong and I feel like I'm kind of like making it up a little bit, get kicked back down, and I'm just like, why? Like, at what point can something just go smoothly for like 1 month? I mean, like just 1 month. I'm asking 1 month.
And so everybody would say to me, like, well, nothing else could go wrong. And I'm like, why did you just put that into the universe? Thank you.
Because it will.
It
Maybe
will.
In a previous life, you and I were like hellions that like destroyed some things together, and now we're paying for it. I don't know.
It's funny. I was just talking to a friend last night about that book, Journey of the Souls, that you've talked about.
Yeah. Because
she's really into that, and she works with students with behavior issues and learning issues and stuff like that. And so psychology and all of that is really big on her and how the brain works. So she was telling me about the book, and I'm like, oh, I know about that book from Mel. I talk like I like know you, but
well, you do.
I mean, I do, but I mean, like,
you're
like
one of two people that actually messages me on the app. Guys, the app.
Yeah, come on. I was one of the beta testers. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you were saying your friend and
so she was talking about the Journey of Souls and telling me about like how, you know, like how the studies went and how people, you know, your soul, your spirit or whatever goes into wherever it's supposed to, and you pick a new body, or I don't know. It was a lot of information. She told me that there's jobs. I want to be the librarian.
You know what I want to be?
Which one?
I want to be the person or in the class of spirits that gets to go around and like whisper inspiration into like innovators and people like that.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't be good at that. The pet one.
Oh yeah. Also, I would like to say, every time like things keep getting worse, I just say, if there's a chance that I die and I have to come back again, I'm going to decline the offer. Because I think this has been just enough.
Like it gets to the point where it's like, okay, how much more can a person go through at a somewhat young age and still come out of this somewhat sane? I don't know. I don't
want to be a bitter old lady, and I feel like
I am. I'm already one.
You were one before.
I was.
Yeah. Yeah. How do we go through this and sit with all of the real emotions, hold them, realize what they are, and not become so cynical that it destroys us. That's what I feel like the challenge is.
And I think that one of the biggest things that helped me too with you guys and the Widow Wives Club is that we have no choice but to laugh at these things, because the only other option is crying. And we've done that already. And so that dark humor that we all somehow develop within this process is really what has helped me. Like, I had some morbid humor before. I mean, I was probably going to hell anyway, but in a handbasket. But
you'll be there with Billy Joel. You'll have all the good songs.
That's right.
Well, Nikki, you are the official meme mistress, meme madam.
Oh, I like that.
I've decided. So yeah, I agree with the dark humor, and that's what gets us through. I mean, there's sad stuff, but there's also like really funny, dark gallows humor. Question for you.
Yeah.
So health problems make things hard. Being a widow makes things hard. Thing after thing makes things hard. Are there points in your life where you feel a little bit of glimmer of, okay, I can do this? Or are you still feeling super compressed and like the world is on your shoulders most of the time?
Well, I struggled with depression and anxiety even before James. So that was something that was that world on my shoulder, the worrying, the stress, the anxiety, that was all stuff that I dealt with. Not to this extent, obviously. And James was really good with that was another hard part, is because James knew how to de-escalate when I got to those points. Like he would find me like in a panic attack, and he knew exactly how to make it stop. Or if I was having an endometriosis flare up and I was in tremendous pain, he would jump into action with the heating pad and like making sure I ate and medication and, you know, everything that I wouldn't even remember to do. He somehow remembered. So losing that as well, that caretaker, that person, that my person was another layer to the loss, those secondary losses that they talk about. For a long time, I had no hope, like, whatsoever. And I didn't have a job. I was on unemployment, making like crap money. But luckily I didn't have too many bills. I paid my student loans off. So, I mean, I didn't have much to worry about. And I was living with my parents. So I guess that was a bit of a positive. And then I had applied to over 30 schools after I lost my job. I don't know if that principal like blackballed me or what, but I could not get a position in the district at all. And one of my friends, who happened to be James's best friend, actually, James actually got ordained and officiated her wedding years ago, like actually right before we met. She was one of the ones that conspired to get us together. So I was in like a really bad week-long depression. Like I don't even think I showered for days. I just couldn't get out of bed. And she called me and she's like, why don't you come over? And I'm like, no, I don't want to. That sounds terrible. And she's like, come over tomorrow. We'll get something to eat and we'll just hang out. No big deal. So I was like, fine, whatever. So I went there and she was like, well, did you try looking at other charter schools? Because I had, originally worked at a charter school. I'm like, I didn't even know there were other ones. And she found this, she knew of this other charter school. And she's like, hey, Nick, they have a job fair tomorrow. You should go. And I was like, well, I have nothing else to do. And then she gave me a sandwich, which
always helps.
I mean, it was good. It was like a breaded chicken cutlet with roasted red peppers, arugula, fresh mutts.
Whoa.
Wow.
And a balsamic glaze.
Stop it.
I know. Delish.
At my house, it would have been ham on bread.
Mm-hmm.
The end.
I mean, sometimes that's what you need. But yeah, so I was like, okay, So I got my resume updated that night and picked out an outfit. Mom ironed it because that was the other thing. James always did my ironing because I
Me
didn't care.
too.
James
Aw.
ironed. James ironed. Like he steamed it. I'm like, I'm not ironing. I'm gonna burn myself. What? They're just gonna get wrinkled again. No, he wouldn't let me out of the house, just like my mom. So my mom ironed, and I went to this job fair thinking like a job fair. Like, okay, it's a big event. Everybody's gonna be there. It's like tables, whatever. No, I got called into the principal's office. And I was like, "Eh." And it was the principal and both assistant principals interviewing just me. And I'm like, well, let's see how this works. And it turned out that the principal and one of the assistant principals were both from Jersey. So I was like, okay. And they position that they offered me was for third grade. And I'm like, no, that sounds terrible. I don't want to do that. And the principal's like, well, why don't you just do it to get your foot in the door? And you never know, something could open up. So I went home, I talked to my parents, and I was like, I really don't want to do that. And my mom's like, you can teach anything. Like, just, it's going to get you out of the house. It's going to give you that purpose again. You need this. So I was like, fine. So I called the principal, I accepted it, and great, started work. In Florida, we go back to school like in August. So like our last day of school was pretty much around your kids, and we finished the 27th, May 27th. So I started like preparing my room and all this third grade stuff. I'm like, I don't even know what I need to do. I can't math. I can spell it, but and then the day before school started, someone's like, principal's looking for you. And I'm like, why?
No.
I haven't even done anything yet. And so I finally get up to her office and I like slowly walk in. She's like, yeah, come in, close the door. And I'm like, do we have to? And she's like, it's not bad. Just sit down. And I was like, okay. And she's like, so do you want to teach sixth grade English language arts? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, yeah, our sixth grade ELA teacher just gave us 2 weeks notice. So we need an English teacher. And I'm like, yeah. So literally the day before. So I was in third grade for like 3 days. And then
you graduated.
I
to
graduated.
sixth grade.
And I mean,
Congrats.
I'm pretty much the same height as most of them. Actually, some of them are taller, the third graders. And so then I moved up to sixth grade, which is not my favorite of the middle school grades, but I had 6 classes this year. I did 2 advanced classes and 4 regular ELA. And I had so much support. I had so much encouragement and love. Like, these people didn't know me from a hole in the wall, and they accepted me without any reservations, without anything. Like, just, yeah, this really crappy thing happened and I'm trying to like rebuild myself. And they were just like, let's bring it in, And so having that support, having the encouragement. I mean, my principal, she tells me all the time that I'm my own worst enemy. She's like, why? Like, you're highly effective. Like, what are you worried about? Like, because she had to observe me, and we get the teachers get graded, and so she's like, you're fine. Like, you're doing great. I had some of my advanced kids that are just like the best. One of them was like, I nominated you for Teacher of the Year. And I'm like, and I got to go to the banquet for their student government. She was this one girl, the same one, she won for student government. She won the speech she wrote the speech. She asked me to help her fix it. It was a great speech about Walt Disney and how he was a leader. And she ended up winning first place for the region, and then she went for the state and came in second place. So because of that, because I helped her, I was invited to this banquet, which I mean, it was so nice to see these kids like appreciative and like, okay, maybe I did do something right. Maybe I wasn't that bad of a teacher. Maybe, and my kids knew that about James, because from day one I had shown them like a collage, and one kid had asked like, oh, was that your husband? And I said, well, actually that's my fiance, he passed away. And so they were like very understanding and sympathetic and empathetic. They could tell like when my mood was a little off, and they'd say like, you know, like, Miss C, is it like a rough day today? They would bring me candy or food because
Good job.
they know
So
me.
sweet. I'm so happy that you had that support and that you landed in a situation that was maybe even better than the situation you got booted from.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't like take away the hurt, but it is nice to finally have something positive in your life.
Right. And I mean, and I still felt the loneliness, of course. Like, I didn't have, my brothers weren't able to come when James passed because of COVID. And both of my brothers had only met James one time, but they both had amazing relationships with him. And it was, my brothers didn't speak to each other for over 10 years. And James had this goal. It was his, like, one of his major goals in life was to get my brothers speaking again. And he had this whole plan because he planned out our wedding. I feel like he was the chick in the relationship. And he's like, I know how I'm going to get them to talk. Like, both of your brothers they'll do anything for you. You're their baby sister. So for the wedding, I'm going to talk to them both. And so he had this whole plan. That didn't happen. But when James passed away, my oldest brother, who's a drummer, he's a musician, he and I are 9 years apart, and he and I always had a pretty rough relationship because we would butt heads. But as we got older, we've gotten much closer. And when James passed, it hurt my brother so much, not only because James died, but because he couldn't fix this for me. And it broke his heart. And I mean, James, he used to call James sweet baby James Taylor. And James and I song was Your Smiling Face, because he used to sing that to me all the time, James Taylor. So when James first crashed, my brother had recorded himself playing Sweet Baby James and singing it on guitar. And he asked me to play it next to James's ear and see if, you know, we could get some type of reaction out of him. And so when I went to the hospital, I did. And a tear came down James's face when he heard it.
Oh God,
That's like a movie,
Yeah.
you know, like
I don't
in
even
a
know.
single tear.
Is it hard for you to hear that song now, or do you listen
I can't.
to it?
I can't listen to it. I can't listen to that. I can't listen to Smiling Face. I can't do it. I can't listen to James Taylor. James died, and then I get this call, like a Facebook video call, and I answer it, and it's both of my brothers together.
Wow.
So he did succeed.
He did.
Yeah.
He finished his goal in life of getting my brothers to talk, and now they talk all the time, and they both call me up, and I have to hang up because they're just making fun of each other, and it's aggravating. And I'm just like, why did you both call me? Like, can't you
I
just
don't have time for this. Go
seriously?
away.
Yeah.
That loneliness is still there. And I know you guys understand too. Well, I mean, it's easier for you guys because you have each other like close by. I don't really have anyone my age in the widow community close to me, so that I know of. So that part gets lonely. That's why when you guys talked about Soaring Spirits and Camp Widow, I was like, oh, I don't know. That sounds like maybe something I should do. And my oldest brother was like, Nick, you got to go. You got, like, what's stopping you? Do you need money? And I'm like, no. He's like, so then go. And I think it was the best thing that I could have done, not only because I met you guys, but because I learned I'm not alone. And there's this whole community of people that get it, that understand, that are available whenever I might need them, and that everything I'm feeling is justified.
Yeah, I love that. That's Camp Widow. I've not talked to one person who has regretted going and meeting some of the other people.
No,
so
it
I'm
was
so glad that you found that too, and we're excited that we got to meet you.
Of course. I mean, and those awesome pirate shirts. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, everyone can thank Nikki for suggesting that we needed pirate shirts. So.
We did.
Oh man, Nikki, I'm so bummed. James sounds like he was just a treasure, a
He
pirate
really was.
booty treasure, and you got ripped off when he died, and then a bunch of other stuff.
I agree.
Right after that,
I agree.
And now you just have us. I'm sorry. We'll make you a T-shirt though.
That's listen. That works. Your T-shirts are great. It makes people uncomfortable, and I'm good.
I know. It's the best.
But if the consolation prize had to be you guys, then that's not so bad.
Oh,
okay, good.
Hugs.
Nikki, we have an important question that we need to ask you.
You know what it is.
I know what it is, and I've been thinking about it for a long time.
Okay, go.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite cheese? What is it?
What
it is?
I'm gonna say cheese.
My favorite cheese is cheese. Final
well,
answer.
First of all, this is a very important month, and I don't want to discriminate.
Okay.
Okay.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also Italian and Spanish. So cheese is pretty much like everywhere. So it depends. Like, am I fancy? Am I going with a little brie with some crackers and fruit? Are we doing grilled cheese just for a quick and easy? Maybe a Monte Cristo, huh?
Oh.
Velveeta
Look,
in a box.
mix that with some Rotel
Yes.
in a crock pot. Delish. Cream cheese. I mean,
Yes.
All of it.
I can't.
Nikki
I don't
is
think
not
I
a
could choose.
cheesist.
I am not. Manchego, Mott's. I mean, a little mozzarella. You can't go wrong.
I'm making some pizza tonight with fresh mozzarella.
Luna won't eat food unless there's cheese on it. I have to put grated Parmesan on her food. I'm not even kidding. She's Italian.
Yay.
I'm not even kidding.
I love it.
James started that.
Nikki, you're the best. Thank you so much for joining us today
Thank you for having me.
and sharing your memes.
Yes.
And thank you for also not eating something that you're allergic to while we were recording and having to get carted off. We
Thanks.
appreciate that. Too.
Listen. The EpiPen is close.
Okay. Stay alive, please, because we treasure you like a pirate treasure.
Thank you to everybody for joining us today. We hope that you'll join us in the Widow Wives Club as well. It's our private Facebook group. Just make sure you answer all the questions. If you want to keep the podcast going, check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you'd like to buy us some tacos, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
And until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
I'm Nikki.
And we are two young widows and the founder, treasurer, public relations manager of the Widow Mafia. And we are all just trying to figure out Widow.
We
do
now.
now.
This is my favorite thing to discuss with you.
Tell me, what is it?
One of my favorite things. I do enjoy tacos and cheese and dogs. This is about how you cannot pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a phone plan, especially when you're a widow, your person is dead, you might have kids, you might need another option, and you just want your phone to work, you want unlimited texting and service, and you want it to be like $25 a month.
It blows my mind that they have plans that start at $15 a month. That is so cheap. And the cool thing is it uses other 5G networks, and so you don't have to pay extra for that, and you still get great service.
Yep, Anita and I have traveled all over, and I have used my phone. So I highly recommend it, and my mom's even on it. When my dad died, we put his phone down to the cheapest plan, which is $15 a month. And I think my mom's on the $20 a month plan, and it's so worth it. It's so much cheaper than what we were all paying before. So I highly recommend it if you're on a budget or not. Who cares? Ryan Reynolds is in charge of the company, and they send you free stickers with Ryan Reynolds temporary tattoos. It's kind of the best. So if somebody wants to sign up, what can they do, Anita?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. Seriously, you guys. Such a great idea. Save yourself some money.
And if you're worried about losing data or having any changes with your phone, not going to happen. They walk you through it. Everything's fine. It's the easiest process of all time. Again, that's
trymintmobile.com/WWDN.